Road trips for me are exciting because I get out of my comfort zone a little bit, and it's like I'm a kid again. I'm gonna fish someplace I haven't been. I'm gonna learn something, and believe it or not, I, as the instructor, do learn something each and every time I go on the water, especially if it's a new zone. It keeps me young. It keeps me invested in the day of fishing because I don't know what's going to happen. I have not seen this movie before. I know it's going to be something brand new. I did not know Captain Jeremy before this trip, believe it or not, but Jeremy was recommended to me by the folks at Hells Bay Boat Works. And then he was recommended to me again by the folks at Z-Man. So it's like, wow, what a common denominator there. Jeremy was actually mentored by an old tournament friend of mine, which is Captain Ben Alderman. And Ben, in my opinion, is one of the best anglers, best guides, best fishermen that I have ever known in this game. So knowing that Jeremy had this pedigree of being under the wing of Ben Alderman, I was quite confident that Jeremy was going to be the guide I needed to fish with.
We're looking at a low incoming tide. It's a pretty moderate tide, so that's helpful. I always like that in the winter months. And you know, we're already kind of a little bit into the low incoming, and then we'll kind of progress into a moderate high tide.
Well, I'm anxious to get going. Sight fishing is something I really enjoy, and it's been a while since we filmed here in the low country of South Carolina, so I've been looking forward to this. To be honest with you, it's not hard to push me to get me to want to come up here and film because I love the food here in Charleston. God, the food is unbelievable.
It's a good place to be, and everybody wants to be here, you know?
Yeah.
We have a lot to offer as far as the fishing goes.
I'm looking forward to today. This is going to be fun.
Yeah,
it's going to be a lot of fun. Jeremy is a young guide, and he's young, but he's been a guide for a little more than a decade. And he's very, very knowledgeable in certain zones in the area that we happen to fish, where he's spent time there since he was a teenager.
There's a little bit of trembling right up ahead at like 11. Looks like there's some fish moving up there like about 120 feet. That water's kind of just shaking a little bit. Might be nothing, but
it's all right. I need to get my hands warm. I can barely feel the line coming under my thumb right now.
If I had to guess, CA, I would guess they're probably at about our depth, kind of right on this line. Probably not, you know, super tight, but sometimes they prove me wrong. So, you know, I always tell people to pay attention to where you see them because they're probably hanging in a certain depth. You know, there's some movement right up there. You see those fish, right?
Yeah, I do.
Right against the edge. Oh, there he is. Nice. Nice, CA. Good cast. You call it. He said he's looking for it.
He's looking for it. He's looking for it. Find it, buddy. I love when Rusty finds it. I love when Rusty finds it. And what was that? 4 casts with a bait change? I should have listened to you 10 casts before that, Jeremy.
And it kind of goes back to what I was saying originally. Just, you know, my theory is always, I'm always in favor of something that doesn't spook fish, you know? If it can enter in the school and they're fine with it, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, nothing more non-threatening than this bait. This is my go-to too when fishing is the tough. Yeah.
I don't want to say anything, but when you put that bait on,
yeah, that is gorgeous.
You look considerably more confident.
Okay, this is the part that's gonna suck. My hands are gonna get wet. Man, I can barely get my hand around this one. That's full grown.
It's a nice fish.
Well, wintertime fishing is unique for one reason. The water's much cleaner and the fish are more obvious to you. They're also moving slower, so you have to pay attention to how you present the bait. So where in the springtime, the summer, or the fall, when the water temps are much warmer and they may be a little bit more active, or I guess they would receive a presentation that would be a little more acute, bouncing the bait and twitching it a lot. Wintertime sight fishing is more about gentle movements. It's more about lifting the bait and letting it fall gently, or pulling the bait. Those types of retrieves were absolutely what those redfish wanted. It took me a few minutes to get in tune with that again. I'm gonna blame a lot of that on the fact that it was pretty dang cold.
You see one too?
He just saw it.
That's awesome. Just keep it high.
Another one in here. Two of them coming out.
He didn't court the bait.
No. No, he was all about it. That one was all about it, Jeremy. Again, it was the little Ned TRD. Come on, buddy. It's a full-grown fish too. I'm just trying to keep him out of the tumbleweeds here. The approach I often take when I'm fishing what I would call unfamiliar waters, where I don't have a lot of time spent there. Now, fortunately for me, I have fished everywhere from Connecticut down the Atlantic seaboard and all the way up the upper Gulf Coast of Texas. But I don't get to spend as much time there as I would naturally if I were here on the Nature Coast or in Tampa Bay or someplace that I'm intimately familiar with. So for me, I draw upon history type fishing, marsh fishing that I've done in Jacksonville or St. Augustine or Flagler Beach or even Fernandina to target zones like this. But let me tell you, it is so much easier to do it with a professional guide leading you around, because there is no knowledge like local knowledge.
I'm trying to get you in a little opening here,
Yeah.
but
I was gonna say, probably,
we're in the hayfield.
I think I can get a hold of them now. How about that? You talk about some big fish in the grass. This isn't even a flood tide. This isn't even what it's about. Look at that, Jeremy.
That's awesome.
That is crazy.
Nice color too. Charleston is great too, because we have a year-round fishery. So a lot of people will call me and ask me, hey, like, you know, when do you stop or start red fishing? And we're very fortunate in the fact that we can fish 365 days a year. So I take, you know, a lot of fly clients, but I also take a lot of, you know, artificial people, and occasionally I take kids to do other things. So yeah, I mean, it's really nice to be able to have that year-round fishery.
Probably the most endearing skill that I really appreciated about Jeremy is his calmness on the water. One of the things about being a great guide is being able to not get overly excited or try to do too much at one time. He was very calculated how the boat moved into the zone, how we presented the bait. We were patient enough to wait until we were in range to make a cast. His anticipation skills of understanding where the fish were going from one zone on the marsh to the next zone on the marsh was, they could only be that if he was doing this on a daily basis, because that's what makes great guides the legends, is understanding where the fish are going to be next. You always have to treat it like a game of chess. You have to know where they're going to be 2 moves from now, so that you can be ready for it.
I don't like the speed of their movement. Nice.
Thank you for the call. Thank you for the call, buddy. Great spy. Yeah, it's a great spy. It's awesome patience too. That's something that's not exhibited enough.
Yeah, he kind of looked like he saw something on the bottom there and went kind of head down, and then all of a sudden there was a little plastic worm sitting there beside him.
One of the things that is fantastic about fishing on the stick, on the push pole, is the fact that we can continue to work the same shoreline and the fish never get the wiser.
It's a nice fish.
Yeah, it's good.
Pretty.
Fish. Woo.
The hook was not coming out.
These little Ned rig type baits do such a good job. Look at the size of that thing. I mean, he's heavy. Fishing redfish post cold front, sight fishing in the wintertime, tightens those fish up into schools. And we were able to follow one particular school around for quite some time. And they got a little jumpy after we pulled a fish or 2 out of them, but we were still able to keep track of them by gently push poling. We're not using trolling motors. When we pull a fish out of the group, he would pull backwards out of the zone to let them relax again. And those are skills that they're not innate. I mean, you have to learn that over time. Most guides would try to pull down, stick down, and stay right there. But he was smart enough to be able to pull off those fish, let them calm down and relax, and then we could go back and do our magic again. All right, today's episode with Captain Jeremy Mehlhaff, we employed several pieces of equipment that I know you're dying to know about. Well, the most important part of the equation was the scented jerk shads. This is the 4-inch scented jerk shads in the shiner color. Jeremy really likes the subdued look of this particular color. And even though I like to pick a flashier bait at times, it's really what worked the best. The second bait that we used or utilized the most was the Finesse TRD. And the Finesse TRD color that I prefer was the Mud Bug color. Very, very sexy little earthy looking color, kind of opaque in color with just enough bronze flake to give it a scaly look. What the fish think it is, I'm not sure. But when it comes to actually catching fish that are tough to feed, this little Finesse TRD is the way to go. The delivery system, pretty simple. One of my favorite rods. This is the Coastal Clearwater rod. This is the SWC-66M. It's a 6.5 foot medium action rod. It has about a 70-30 feel to the flex. It's nice and soft so that I can make a cast with a very small light bait. Now, one of the cool things about this rod setup is I have the 150 HG. This is the Curado DC. It's supposed to not backlash. This is the Shimano. And I didn't experience any troubles with it at all. In fact, I was throwing it as hard as I could, and I was getting casts from 75 to 90 feet out of this setup, and it worked beautifully all day long. Attached to the 15-pound braid, I have a short section here of 20-pound fluorocarbon. I've connected it with an Alberto knot. And the bait itself, you'll notice I did not put a loop knot here. I put actually an improved clinch knot right to the Chinlock's hook because I wanted to give the bait actually a little less action. Remember, they wanted a nice, smooth, slow, gentle presentation, and that's what worked. The style of fishing that Jeremy and I did on this particular trip is something that I'm really familiar with. It's sight fishing. The only caveat was the fact that it was wintertime sight fishing, and wintertime sight fishing for a Floridian is much more comfortable than wintertime fishing for a Charlestonian. It was cold. I mean, I kept shifting my hands in and out of my pocket, pulling my gloves out, putting my gloves off, making casts, and dreading the fact that I was going to have to put my hands in the water to handle another fish. But overall, the sight fishing is something that is similar to those places like Texas and Louisiana, where you have visible fish that you can see and you can present to. And it's a matter of fine-tuning the presentation, and we caught a lot of fish. You're going this way?
Yeah. Hit that. Throw deep on them. There you go. Good. Slow. That should get a bite there. Slow. Just twitch it a little bit. Did he eat it, see it?
Yeah. I think I got him.
You sure?
Oh,
I couldn't
look
tell.
at him go. Boy, you're spoiling me, Jeremy. You are spoiling me, sir. It's like you guys don't even have little fish in Charleston. They probably all eat at the same restaurants that we eat at. God, these fish are healthy. And the water's cold. You'd think they'd be a little slow, but boy, they're jacked. I feel like I'm grabbing a dang alligator. Look at that.
Oh, that sun's shining through the tail. It's pretty.
That is a gorgeous fish. I mean, he's got a blue paintbrush. It's one of the most beautiful venues, South Carolina, that I've ever fished. The golden brown marsh and the green water and the dark purple of the oyster bars out here, and the fish are so red with the blue tails. I mean, it's just one of those picturesque places. I mean, God, I am so envious of where you get to make your money, buddy.
Well, we appreciate it, and next time we'll turn the temperature up just
a
little.
10 more degrees, that would have been all right. Well, let's get this guy back in the water, and let's just keep doing this. This is a lot of fun. See how easy this fishing is? It always works out this way. Easy peasy. Got a guide that tells you exactly where to throw. You can't screw this up. You can't even make this up.
I'll tell you too, that they were much more approachable there. Like when you cast it in there.
They were happy.
Yeah, they didn't really bother them. They
Yeah.
kind of just, and then I was like, you're getting the bite. It was just, you know, fishing with CA, I can't get over just this one moment that we shared. We were heading in, the light was kind of getting low, and I basically asked him, I said, hey, do you want to stop and fish one last spot? And he's like, yeah, I mean, if you think we can catch a couple fish. And I was like, all right. So we stopped, and really the stars aligned. I mean, it was great. We like couldn't keep fish off. You know, after the third or fourth fish, he's kind of laughing, and he's like, just chuckling, oh yeah, let's just catch one more fish at this last little spot. And you know, he just kept saying that and kind of mumbling to me, and I was cracking up. He's like, yeah, you're never gonna be able to catch a fish here again, but it was just funny how it all came together, and just his sense of humor. It really like made it for me, you know. Oh,
There he is.
Nice.
What a good fish. It doesn't get much better than that. It doesn't get much better than that, Jeremy. That is some good stuff.
What a day, man.
Unbelievable.
Seriously.
Well, fantastic trip to Charleston for us. I mean, the fishing was outstanding. The food was great. We ended up visiting some of the other oyster bars that inundate the landscape there in Charleston. And those are the ones that are in town that serve ice cold beer, and they were fantastic. So, unbelievable trip. Really like to thank Captain Jeremy Mehlhaff from Charleston Shallows Fishing. He did a fantastic job, and Captain Jeremy, I promise you, the next time I come to Charleston, I'll be looking you up.